Okay, so welcome to English Law for Articles 5 and 6. Watch the videos on Article 5 and Article 6, and then just be aware that quite often in scenario questions you can be asked about the domestic legislation that exists. So this one deals with police powers and it does overlap with 5 and 6. So first of all, PACE, Police and Criminal Evidence Act 1984. What I would state about this act is that it deals with stop and searches. So section 1 says the police can stop and search a person or a vehicle in a public place if they have reasonable grounds to suspect that the person is in possession of stolen items or prohibited articles. Section 2 of PACE says that the officer has to give you the name, station and the reason for the stop and search. So when they are detaining you, because stop and search is a detention, when they are detaining you, these are your rights. Section 3 says you should be given a copy of the stop and search, and that will have all the details of what happened. And then section 117 does allow the police officers to use reasonable force on somebody they are stopping and searching. Now, you also have some more rights contained in Code A. These are the codes of practice. These are guidelines that the police should stick to. Code A states that the police cannot base the stop and search on certain suspicions. For example, they can't stop and search you based on previous convictions. They can't stop and search you based on your age or your appearance or your race, for example. So after looking at PACE, I would also mention Section 60 of the Criminal Justice and Public Order Act 1994. Now, a Section 60 order is authorised by a senior police officer, and it exists at events like football matches. So a Section 60 will be in the surrounding areas. If the police believe there's going to be violence, they will have a special order. It only exists for a certain period of time. So, I don't know, 3 p.m. kickoff, the Section 60 might exist from 1 p.m. until 7 p.m. That means the police can stop and search anybody. So you don't even have to be going to the event, the football match. They can stop and search anyone if they believe there's going to be violence in the area. So that is just worth knowing, that you can be detained under that different act. If you are detained and it's not done lawfully, then evidence could be inadmissible in court. Section 76 of PACE says you can't use evidence that's been gained through torture. Section 78 of PACE says you can exclude any evidence if you haven't had the proper legal representation. So when the police arrest you, they are detaining you. They're meant to take you to the police station as soon as possible. But when you are arrested, you have to be told the reason for the arrest. And Section 24 of PACE, it has been amended by SOCPA, the Serious Organised Crime Policing Act. Section 24 of PACE says you can arrest if you have grounds to suspect they are committing a crime, they're about to commit a crime, or they just have committed an offence. Now, when you're taken to the police station, the custody officer will check you in and should tell you of your rights, and they should review your detention on a regular basis. You do have the right to silence under Section 34 of the Criminal Justice and Public Order Act 1994. However, when you are cautioned, and if you listen to you do not have to say anything, fine, that's your right to silence. But they then continue and they say, but it may harm your defence if you do not mention something which you later rely upon in court. So that means adverse inferences can be drawn from your silence. So if you remain silent during the police interview, then and then in court you come up with some answers to the questioning, adverse inferences. Negative, I would see that as negative conclusions can be drawn. Now, Section 58 of PACE says that you have the right to a solicitor. Code C says things like you have the right to a phone call, you have the right to free legal advice, so a duty solicitor, you have the right to regular food and drink, you have the right to 8 hours sleep during a 24-hour time period. In terms of how long can you be detained for, it's 24 hours. Then, if it's an indictable offence, the superintendent can extend this by another 12, so 36 hours. If the police feel you need, or they need more time to question you, they have to go to the magistrates' court. Now, the magistrates can grant an extension for 96 hours. In suspected terrorist offences, it's 2 weeks. It's 14 days that you can actually be held for. They can deny you legal advice, and they can deny you a phone call for a period of time if they think you're going to tip off a co-criminal, that you're going to ring up somebody and tell them not to import the drugs, or you've been caught, or whatever it is. So that is allowed, but it's quite rare, or it should be quite rare, that they do that. The other thing in terms of detention, just remember that if you are charged with a crime, you are then either bailed until your trial, or you are remanded in custody. Now, the law says you should only be remanded for 182 days, but frequently judges are extending that because of the criminal backlog. So those are some of your rights under English domestic law on Article 5 and Article 6.